Well, good day and welcome to lesson 23 and our second last lesson in our study of the book of Ephesians. This is only one verse in length, verse 18 in chapter 6. And I'm going to read it to you this way. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to this end with all perseverance and supplication for all the saints. Over the course of this last few lessons, Paul has been telling us how we should behave as Christians, the gifts that we have been given. As a result, how we should behave towards each other, towards him, and towards the church. How fathers should react towards children, how parents should react towards children actually, and how children should react towards parents, and how we are in a war. We are in a conflict with the spirits of the dark age, of dark world. And how, in order to battle that, in order to stand up to them, we should put on the whole armor of God, as he mentioned in the previous lesson. So he mentioned the putting on the armor and taking the sword of the word, but now he mentions probably the most important aspect and way of warfare of all, and that is prayer. And he is saying here that he wants us to pray always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit. All prayer and humility, honesty, sincerity in the Spirit. We sometimes have a great deal of difficulty with prayer. And it says in Romans that our spirit groans. We do not know how to pray. But prayer is really just an honest, sincere, and humble conversation with God. Nothing fancy about it, and nothing specific about it, except that it should be honest and sincere and humble. There are prayers that are formal. There are prayers that are informal. There are prayers which are long. There are prayers which are short. There are prayers which are said out loud and prayers which are said silently. They're all effective as long as they have those characteristics of sincerity and humbleness. The Amish, for instance, have silent prayers all the time, and they've been blessed by God in their lives because of this. Other people pray out loud, which is fine. The thing which is not great is to pray in a way and in a type that brings honor to you rather than to God. This was exampled by the Pharisees in Matthew, and the Pharisees spoke out loud saying they were not like other people, that they were so good. And Jesus said that they have their reward there in their own performance. So Paul is saying here to pray always with all prayer and all supplication. In Thessalonians it says to pray without ceasing. Now you can't be essentially in a total aspect of prayer in essence all the time. But what he means is that you should be in an attitude of prayer and in an ability to have a conversation with God all the time. There's no particular place that you should have to be in to pray. And if you look at the Bible, there are all sorts of types of prayer. And prayers have been given on all occasions. For example, prayers are given when you're thankful, as in 2 Corinthians or in Philippians 1 verse 3. Prayers are given to confess sin, James 5:16. When you're sick, James 5:14. When you're in danger, Acts 27 verse 28. When you're tempted, Matthew 26:41. At public occasions, Acts 12:5. In prayer groups, Acts 12:12. At meals, etc. There are many other places where they could be mentioned. All occasions and all places. For instance, it's mentioned about praying in solitary places in Mark 1, verse 35. On the mountain, and Matthew 14, verse 23. In the temple, Luke 2, verse 37. Housetop, Acts 10, verse 9. When you're on the ship, Acts 27:25, and in prison, Acts 16:25, among other places. Those are all occasions, all times, all places, now all times, because it says prayers in the Bible are given before daybreak, Mark 1, verse 35. On the Sabbath, Acts 16:13. When you're alone, Luke 9, verse 18. When you're together, Acts 2, verse 42. When you're all night, Luke 6, 17. Night and day, 1 Timothy 5, verse 5. And continuously, Acts 16. And for all things, pray for all things, all times, all places, and all occasions. And it says for all things you pray for safety, Matthew 24:20. When you pray for forgiveness, Mark 11:28. Pray for food, Luke 11, verse 3. For faith, Luke 22, verse 32. Others, pray for others, John 17, verse 41. Healing, James 5, verse 14. For rain, James 5:18. Children, Luke 1:13. Health and prosperity, 3 John, verse 2. And spiritual strength, Matthew 26:41. These are all the occasions, the places, the times, and the things that you can pray for. And these are all mentioned in the Bible. So when he says that you should pray always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit. Pray honestly is what it means. Pray honestly, fervently, and humbly. Pray in the Spirit. For all things, it makes no difference what it is. God is there, and He will help with your prayers. So this is the idea of the possibilities of prayers. Okay? And it says in James 4:2, you do not have because you do not pray. You do not ask. You do not have because you do not ask, which means you do not pray. And this is what you need to do. If you need a petition, you need to petition God in all things, for all of the things that you require and need. Jesus said, if you pray in my name and you ask in my name, it will be given to you, providing, of course, it's in the Father's will for you to have it. This is a thing which is sometimes not mentioned. So, he says that praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to the end, making sure that we do this throughout. Don't quit. Pray without ceasing. Don't stop praying. And if you do stop praying, then start again. Start it again. We are to pray. We are to pray to win over the world. We are to pray to win over temptation and to pray to win over persecution. All of these things are to be prayed for. And this is the biggest weapon that we have in the spiritual warfare, is prayer. Nehemiah said in chapter 4, verse 1, we made our prayer to our God and because of them, we set a watch day and night. Colossians 4, verse 2 says, continue earnestly in prayer, being vigilant in it. So be it all the time. Do the prayers continuously, talking to God whenever you feel like it. You do not need to be in a particular place, in a particular attitude, in a particular posture. You can pray anytime, anywhere, on any occasion, for prayer and for help. So it says, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to this end, being awake, being vigilant to this end. With all perseverance, to to persevere at all times, and supplication for all the saints. You're praying for everyone. You're praying for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for your neighbors, and for everyone in the church, and then ultimately for everyone on earth, because we all need the prayer that is uttered. The perseverance in prayer is plainly a fatal mistake to stop praying and not begin again, Philip Yancey said. That's the whole idea, to start praying. Don't stop. Don't take your mind off God. Just keep your mind in the sense of prayer most, if not all the time you can. And pray whenever you can. This is really the essence of this little verse. Because if we put on all the armor of spiritual warfare and do not pray, we're really getting nowhere. We're sort of sitting there fully armored with no action. It's the action of prayer which makes the armor effective and makes us effective. Winston Churchill once said, before World War II, that next to cowardice and treachery, overconfidence, believing yourself that you can do it without God's help, overconfidence leading to slothfulness and neglect, because that's what happened in the churches when we don't pray, when we don't take God into our confidence, leading to overconfidence, leading to slothfulness and neglect, are the worst of wartime crimes. And we're in a war. So basically this one verse talks about how we utilize the power which God has given us, make effective use of the armor which He has given us, and make effective use of the sword, the word which He has given us, prayer. Jesus said in Matthew that my house will be a house of prayer. Sometimes we don't do that. It doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be intricate. It doesn't have to be flowery. It just has to be sincere, humble, and honest. It can be a few words. You can say it anywhere, on any occasion, in any place, and for any reason. This is the purpose and the power of prayer. And this is what He is telling us. This is how spiritual warfare is won. So next week we'll finish off this chapter and this book, and then get into another book, hopefully in a week or two. But right for now, this is it for today. Prayer, the most powerful weapon we have. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.